So then you fight Josh Barnett and Sengoku.
Yeah.
Now the caveat is it's your former training partner.
Yeah.
How difficult was that taking that fight?
It wasn't hard. I mean, I wanted to, we were teammates and stuff like that, but it's a fight I wanted to fight. I wanted to win. I didn't have, it was a little strange, fighting him. This fight is a fight I really would like back. I really shit down my leg. I just gave him, I really looked up to him, and I gave him, I guess, too much credit. I just remember in the first round, he's going, and I took him down, past his guard, I'm inside, kind of hitting him. And I think, elbows were illegal for that. And I kind of clipped him with the elbow, and he's like, "Come on, Jeff, like, you know better than that," or something like that. And it was like my dad scolded me. I was like, "Oh, sorry, Josh." And after that, he pushed me off and then just kicked my ass the rest of the fight. And I was just like, I remember after the time, like, man, I just took a back seat to him. You know what I mean? I just literally took a back seat to him mentally, and let him,
Get in your head,
yeah.
So you, when you guys came out to the center of the ring, it looked like you were trying to have a conversation with him, and he wouldn't even give you eye contact. Was there some issues between the two of you?
No, I think he's able to turn off the buddy stuff better than I was,
Okay.
So yeah, I think it was I did have an issue with him, later. I fought in I don't even remember what fight. I fought in Philippines, and there was like a team. It was like a team competition, and I was like the heavyweight. It was our team against some of the red team, something like that. And he was the coach of this team. And we had an issue because I was like an hour late for some team for a meeting or something, or I think it was the rules meeting. And he took he'd fined me $1,000. He did, not the organization, but he literally, because they paid him, and he took $1,000 from me from that. And I was like, are you kidding, Josh? Like, you want to see a UFC title before you're making this huge money and stuff like this. Like, I'm have nowhere near your money, you know what I mean, that you're doing, and you're taking $1,000 from me. Are you kidding? Like, you know what I mean? And so I was a little pissed about that. And then later, we had I fought in New Zealand or Australia, I think. And so the fighter that he fought, I fought, there was some big men, there's some huge names on this card. I mean, a bunch of UFC former champions on this card. I mean, Matt Lindland fought, and who's that guy with the dreads that beat
Terry Sokoju?
No, he beat God, I can't think of anything tonight. He beat for the UFC.
Brian Ebersol? Was Brian Ebersol on that card?
I think he was. Yes, Carl Snooden. Carl Snooden was on the card. And so afterwards, this promoter.
I think he fought Ebersol.
What's that?
I think he fought Brian Ebersol. All right, so go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, maybe. And so after the fight, this promoter, like, he lost his ass because he didn't promote the fight well. He didn't, like, nobody saw it was supposed to be on pay-per-view, and it was like, well, I mean, we had, for the amount of fighters on this card. I mean, even here, I'm talking to a guy that, like, hardly know who was on it. All these times, Barnett was on it. I mean, it was great. It was a great card. And so afterward, like, the guy didn't pay us, and so we were fighting with this guy for months, trying to get paid. And I think I was supposed to make 25 or something like that. And eventually we kept bugging him, and me and the other guys were bugging him, threatening to sue, all this stuff. And I think he eventually paid me, I'm not sure, but I think it was like 10 or 12. And Josh made $250,000. I remember that. And so during this fight for the money, all this stuff, Josh calls me up. I was in Seattle. He calls me up and said, "Jeff, like, what the hell are you doing? I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? He said, like, I'm trying to get paid. And he'd already got paid half. He got 125. And he's like asking for the rest of it. He goes, man, this guy hasn't paid me my 125 yet. He still owes me 125 and all this other stuff. And I go, bro, I'm making 20. Like, I haven't got paid a penny yet. I'm trying to get something. He goes, man, just back off him. I want, like, he's basically telling me and the other guys. He told me, he goes, tell everybody else to back off because I want to get paid. I was the main fight on this card. I go, Josh, you're a fucking jackass, man. Like, you're kidding me? Like, you want to make, like, you got to get your $250,000 before we get like 10 grand. Some of you guys were making 5 grand, 10 grand. I think I was one of the highest, for sure, one of the highest guys making 25 other than him. So I'm like, Josh, like, you know, anyway, so that, I don't know. So I put a like bad taste in my mouth about him. So, I fought in Korea and got poked. It's actually the week after I fought Alexander. So I fought in USA, won. I fought in Poland, won the World Grappling Championship. Went to, beat Alexander in Russia. Then went to Poland, won the World Grappling Championship. Then the next week went to South Korea and fought and won this fight against some wrestler guy. But in the last like 10 seconds of the fight, he threw a punch and the guy got poked in the eye. And I couldn't see, so I like freaked out. And so I like grabbed him and just kind of held on for the last 10 seconds. So I won a decision, but I couldn't see afterwards. And they're just like, oh, they put like literally some ointment on the outside of my eye. I'm like, man, I can't see. So on the way home, we had a 24-hour stay in Beijing. And because you need a visa, but if you have a plane ticket showing that you're whatever, you can go into the city. So I took a tag, went right to the hospital, and they looked, they go, yeah, you gotta detach retina. I went back to Russia, and then I was gonna stay in Russia for like a couple weeks, but I took the next plane. Instead of going back to instead of staying in Russia, I went back to US, and the doctor saw it, and eventually I had surgery. I could see light, a little like light and kind of figures, and then they had to cut off anyway, 3 surgeries later, I can't see out of my eye. So I'm like blind. So I fought like probably 20 times or something like that with literally one eye, but obviously none in the States. Well, a couple in the States, but I had like
smaller shows, yeah.
Yeah, smaller shows. So
which eye is it?
This eye, left eye.
Are you still having issues seeing out of it?
No, I'm blind. I'm 100% blind.
Wow, that's some Harry Greb stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gosh, man, I don't even know where to start with Jeff.
I can give one that is a common story just to get you thinking.
I was
a matchmaker of a Jeff Monson fight in Brazil, and Aaron was on that show too. Aaron also fought down there.
Yep.
And Jeff was married, and he brought his girlfriend with him to Brazil, and
not his wife.
No, not his wife, and that's the problem, because
he left her at home on accident.
Because at some point we are videotaping the fights. It's not like it was televised or anything like that, but we're videotaping the fights, and he brings his girlfriend in and introduces her to the Brazilian crowd as his wife. So doesn't go well for him after that. But anyway, that's the kind of nonsense we're about to hear, I think.
Well, yeah, he would always do stuff like that. But one of the things that I remember, like I distinctly remember too, was Jeff got me hooked up with a great chiropractor. Like there was a chiro that okay, I got to tell this story to lead into that story. So one time I was supposed to pick Jeff up from the airport. Luckily, he was on time for a change. I mean, that's like, everybody knows that about Jeff. If you want him there on time, you got to tell him to be there 2 hours before you want him to be there. So I picked Jeff up from the airport, and I go to pick him up, and he's just laying on the ground reading the book, like at the like out by the ground. He's like, well, my back went out on the flight, and I didn't realize how bad this guy's back would go out. But like, he was like, you got to help put me into the truck, and I was like, okay. So I go to start helping him stand up off the ground, but he's like, no, you got to. I'm like having to like pick the guy up like a baby and like put him into the car, and in case you guys know how big Jeff Monson is.
He's huge.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about that Abu Dhabi trip. I don't know if you remember. My brother was there with us, helping out, and my brother was there. He actually had to ride, and Jeff lay on the floor in front of him in his seat because he couldn't sit for that long of a trip. So my brother actually put his feet on his back. That's mostly flying around and stuff.
Wow.
But what happened was so Jeff's like, you got to take me to the Cairo. So I take Jeff to the Cairo, and I just drop him off, and then he gets picked up by somebody else and whatever. But the guy's fine the next day. He's walking, he's completely fine. I'm like, damn, I got to give this Cairo like a look, So anyway, Jeff's like, yeah, sure. Next time I go, I'll bring you. I'll take you over there. And I was like, okay, cool. So we're in his car, and we're driving over there, and he says something about the brakes are really shot on this car, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, thanks for the heads up, whatever. And then we drive into the parking lot of the chiropractic office, and dude, he just straight crashes into a dumpster. Like, he's grabbing the emergency brake, and he's like he slows it down from like 50 to like 25 maybe. But he just plows it straight into a dumpster. And like the car bounces up, and like, you pitch forward in the seat, and I hit the dash. I'm like, Jeff, what the hell? Why'd you do that? He's like, I told you, man, there's no brakes in it.
He's a fucking weird dude, but funny.
Did you give us a couple examples?
He does not act how he looks. He's very soft in demeanor, very quietly spoken, where his tattoos and looks speaks loudly, if that makes sense. He looks like he's very softly spoken, very nice, very calm, and very chilled. I hear a lot of crazy stories about him and stuff like that. But he's a funny dude who's probably a bit of a sex addict as well. I heard that you would have sex before fighting in the changing room. I'm like, how can you do that? You're fighting.
Yelm Highway is a pretty busy highway, and I pull up on me. Jeff was supposed to come to my house, and Jen was supposed to drop him off, and he hadn't dropped him off. So I'm like, what the hell? And so I went up to the store, and I see walking down the highway, buck naked Jeff, buck naked.
Our
so
first
I pull up,
naked
like, what the hell is going on? I pull up to him, and I'm like, Jeff, what are you doing, dude? It's like, I'm having a protest. I'm like, you're doing a protest? It's like, Jen was being a bitch. I'm protesting. I'm like, Jeff, this is not the way to protest, bro. You don't get buck naked and walk down the street. So I throw him a coat and make him get in, and that his rational thinking was not there sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was
wondering
wondering what it was like. Imagine you're arrested, in Yelm, and they call for an evaluation, and you realize that it's this guy that's trying to evaluate you, and you're like, this isn't fair, man.
Yeah. His answer to everything is, well, did you take your clothes off? That's probably, because I've noticed that's the theme with him. He's done it when he gets mad in grappling matches. He's like, that's it, I'm taking my clothes off. That's his form of protest, no matter what.
He's like that dude off of Trailer Park Boys. Takes his freaking pants off. He gets all buck naked.
My ex-wife, God rest her soul, saw Jeff naked at one of his protests. For months, she would talk about just how small his dick was. Like, she couldn't get over it. Like, she would be telling her friends the story, having me vouch for like how big he was as a human being. She couldn't believe it.
Maybe it was cold, Mike.
He's huge too. It's a
You hear Matt Lillan tell the story. Matt Lillan tells the story about when he was in Brazil and got naked. He's like, Jeff looked like a 12-year-old boy out there.
That was the Marcelo Garcia protest. That's the famous one.
Right.